In this session, I will describe the meaning of a variable in a data set, and I will give examples of how to name a variable. What is a variable? A variable in a data set is any characteristic that represents the object of measure. Now, let me clarify what an object of measure means. An object of measure is the object you are trying to describe in a table. In this example, I have the financials of an organization. The name of the table is called financials. And this table has variables that describes the financials. The variables in this case are segment, the country, the product, the discount band, units sold, manufacturing price, sales price, gross sales, discounts, sales, cost of goods sold. So everything you have here on the column are variables that describes this object, which is the financials of the organization. A variable can be a number, it can be a quantity that can be measured or counted. A variable could be anything called the data item. In relational databases, data sets are stored in tables. What we have here is a table with columns and rows. These are the rows. So you might be wondering, how do I recognize the column? The columns are on the vertical side. You can see all these are the columns. The rows are on the horizontal sides. The row and the column house different type of information about the object. The column is also described as fields. Columns are also referred to as fields. The columns are where the characteristics of the data objects are stored. So the characteristics of these financials, as we see, segments, country, product, and all the others. The rows are also referred to as a record or a tuple. Rows are observations in a data set. Now, I want you to pay attention here. Observations, a single observation will give you a description of one item in the table. For example, under this observation here, you can see that the you can read it as the type of customer here is a government in the country of Canada, and the product is Carretera, and the unit sold is 1618.5, and the manufacturing price is 3, sales price is 20, the gross sales is 32370, and you read it all the way. You can go back to see the total sales, the cost of goods sales, the profits from that sale, the date, the month number, the month name, and the year. So that will help you to differentiate between a column and a row. Now let me also talk about naming your variables. It is good practice to use representative names to name a variable. That makes it easy for users to understand the object that is being described. For example, in these financials, when you see a variable named segment, your mind begins to wonder, what is a segment? When you see country, It's so clear. Oh, this organization operates in several countries, so it probably is a multinational organization. You see the product name, you're looking at how they describe their product or their service. So these names used here in the table, they are representational. I know in mathematics you see a variable that says maybe x is equals to y plus z. It doesn't tell us anything in data analytics. Do not use generic names like x1, t1, s1. Imagine where you want to read this table and it's saying, instead of using segment, it says s1. Instead of using country, you see c1. Instead of using product, you're using p0. What does that say? Remember, one of the objectives of creating visuals, analyzing data is to draw an insight. So whoever is reading the insight needs to be able to relate to the names, the characteristics of the object you're trying to describe. If you're using x1, x2, t2, it makes it difficult for the reader to understand the characteristics. So it is good practice to use representative names. We're looking at a table describing financials. If you decide to call this table ball, your reader will be wondering, what is a ball here? How does ball connect or relate to any of these characteristics? In summary, use representative name for your variables, for your tables. To read the characteristic or the representative variables for any table, look at the columns. Those are the characteristics of the object. And the object is the name of the table, or in this case, we have financials. And to look at the observation or the row, you read it horizontally this way. Thank you.